Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to Riffs Rasslin. We talk about all things heavy metal and pro wrestling. I am, of course, your host, Willie. We have your other host on the other line, Nick. What's up, man?
What's going on, brother?
Well, we're here, we're doing it, and we have a bit of a different episode that we're doing today. But before we get into it, of course, go on X, go on Instagram, follow us there at Riffs Rasslin. If you're watching on YouTube, hit the subscribe button and comment below and like and share and all that good stuff. We would very, very much appreciate that.
Yeah, and
Um,
also I want to say too that everybody that watches the clips on YouTube Shorts, please do us a favor and click on the actual channel and check out the podcast in full form. It's in video form, so it's not just audio. But we like to get the numbers on that page as well. We're doing good on the shorts, but we need to bump those numbers up on the full blown episode. So please do us a favor and watch it.
yeah, and if you enjoy what you're watching, hit that subscribe button, please. That'd be great. We need you to come on back.
Yes, sir.
But yeah, so what we're doing today, if y'all didn't know, Nick over here is a former pro wrestler. If you haven't seen the episode, it is, I believe, the first episode that we have here on YouTube where we interviewed Nick on based on his career as a pro wrestler. If you haven't seen that, I would recommend going and watch that one first and then hop on back here and watch this one, because this one we're going to be talking about kind of a more in-depth deep dive of Nick's career and his thoughts, his opinions, and his experience of being a wrestler and what that involves in the booking aspect of everything. So we're going to dive deep in what the booking looks like, how the booking should go, and everything all in between. What do you think, Nick? You ready?
Yes, sir. And just so the audience knows out there, I have no idea what these questions are. I didn't want to know ahead of time. I like it to be more spontaneous and more real and not so scripted. Like, you're going to ask me this, I'm going to say this. I hate all that. So we're shooting from the hip here, and should be a good one. Should be a banger.
Damn right it will be.
All
All
right,
right,
let's
well,
get it.
let's dig into it, man. For me, not being a wrestler, right? Only being a fan and watching it, booking seems like it's a bitch. I feels like there's so many avenues that you have to work with, right? So like, well, let's start off with like the first thing is like you have a promo motion and you have a roster of guys, right? Kind of what in your opinion would be the first steps in taking when booking something? Let's say you this is your first show, right? And you want to book a live show. What would be some key elements and things that you need to focus on at first?
All right, well, let's say that we're just focusing on the backstage material, right? We're working on the matches, we're working on the stories, we're working on all that. The first thing you want to do is know who your talent are, what your talent, what their styles are, what their characters are. So therefore, you can start your booking process by matching up good characters against each other, good stories against each other, and not just some random, thrown together match. Something that actually means something, um, has substance to it, and it's not just there just to be there. You know what I mean? So that's the first thing that you need to do is understand what talent you're working with. Understand what their move set is, understand what they do know and what they don't know, because you don't want to go out there and say, okay, this is the finish, I want to see this match, and they don't know how to go about doing that finish. You know what I mean? So understanding your talent is a big key part that I think a lot of people miss, especially on
Hmm.
the independent promotions. You know what I mean? Because you can have a guy in the back, let's say that it's his promotion, right? And he's putting the matches together, but he's going to book, let's say my alter ego is Bryce Slavin, right? So say Bryce Slavin is booked up against a brand new rookie. This is his first match. And we're told the finish is going to be, some sort of a high spot off the top rope. You know what I mean? Well, if this kid is greener than grass and he's never taken this move before or whatever the spot's going to be, then obviously we can't do that. You know what I mean?
Right.
So it's understanding your talent first.
Okay.
After you understand your talent, then you want to match up character by character. You want to have a story. You want to have a flow to your
Mm.
show. You want to have a strong opener and you want to have a strong closer. Just like we
Okay.
talk about in our music episodes, you know what I mean, of an album. You want a strong opening, a strong close.
Yeah.
Same thing that you want in a show as well when you're booking a show. The middle part is just as important as the beginning and the end too, because you want to keep the people hooked and you want to keep them captivated. Especially if you're an independent promotion, you don't have a television audience. You want to get these people in the door, and then once these people are in the door, you want to give them something that makes them want to come back for the next show.
That makes sense. That makes sense. Let's focus on the matches real quick. You mentioned you got to have a good opener and a good closer. In booking a show, doesn't matter if you have this amount of tag team matches or this amount of title matches. Like, explain like how you would or what you've seen is successful in a card of a show.
So what you want to do is you want to start them off hot, right? But you don't want to go too hot to where it takes away from what your main event is going to do. When I got brought up and what I was told coming up in the business was is you want it to be a progression to the main event. You didn't want to throw everything out there at the very beginning. You didn't want to blow it all off in the middle, and then what are the guys going to do at the end? You know, they had
Mm,
nothing left to do. So you want to do a progression. So stylistically, you'd want like your first match to be, let's say it's a one-on-one match. Maybe a couple of the greener guys, you know what I mean? Now I said that you wanted to start off with the banger, right? Well, let's say that you didn't have a roster full of guys who are experienced, then maybe you want to start to slow build towards your main events to get some of the greener guys out there. Tag team matches, especially for green guys, is not ideal because there's way too many moving parts.
mm,
Keep it one on one, keep it simple, you know, for them to follow a simple structure to get through their match. If you had a roster full of experienced guys, then okay, you can go ahead and you could do, you know, start off with the banger and then start to progress from there and then blow it off in the main event, right?
yeah.
So when it comes to like tag team matches, special team matches, title matches, all that kind of stuff, you don't want to overload it too much, especially let's say, for instance, this is your first show that you're going to run. You want to leave the people, like I said, coming back for more. So you don't want to blow everything on that first show. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Give them just enough to where it's like, oh man, that was exciting. That was awesome. And they can come back for the next show. You know what I mean? If you give it all to them in one shot, what's for them to come back to? See what I'm
Right.
saying?
Yep. Yep. Um, Kind of going back to the storyline of the card. Let's say this is your third show, right? And you kind of build a storyline in the first two shows. How explain to the audience how difficult or how easy it is to keep that storyline going and keep it growing in a character.
So now it's a lot easier to do than when I came up in the business, because when I came up in the business, social media wasn't a thing.
Oh,
You know
okay.
what I mean? Everything was word of mouth. There wasn't even a YouTube out there when I first started. None of this existed. So now it's a lot more easier for a smaller promotion to get eyeballs on their product. It's easier to continue a storyline um, outside of just the show itself on social media through X, through Instagram, whatever platform you use, um, because you have a constant, you know, feed going out to your audience. You know what I mean? That's just not in the building watching the show itself.
Hmm.
So nowadays, it's a lot more easier to do. Back in when I was coming through, not to sound like that old guy back in my day, but
Right.
back when I was coming up, what you wanted to do was you wanted to give them something that was a hook, right? So whether your guy was a good promo or your guy was a good worker in the ring, or if he was both, and you know, bless the stars if they're both of them, but you want to give them something to where if he's shooting a promo saying, I'm taking on X, Y, and Z at the next show, and then you want to tell them why they should come back and watch it. You know what I
Hmm.
mean? Give them
Yeah.
that hook, give them that incentive of why they should pack up the car, get to the show, pay the money, sit down, pay for concessions, and watch what you're providing. You want to give them substance each time they come back. You know what I mean? And then build
Yeah.
and build and build till you have that big super show. If you're lucky to get that far, to have that blow off and then to start all over again.
That makes sense. That makes sense. Timeline of a show. How long should a show be in your, thoughts? How long should it be? How many matches should be on a card? How many promos should be on a card?
So I'm gonna say again for like an indie promotion, right? Because
Right.
indie and TV are two different things.
Yes.
If you're a wrestling show on television, you're a television show. You're not a wrestling show. So you're gonna have breaks, you're gonna have time stamps that you need to hit and everything else, right? So let's just take it from like an independent show with like maybe one camera set up at the back of the room so they can broadcast it on Rumble or YouTube or whatever, right?
Yeah.
So idealistically, what you want is you want a show that's no more than 2 hours,
Okay.
especially an indie show. If you're more than 2 hours, it's overkill, right? You want to have guys that can come out there and cut a promo. If you're lucky enough to have some sort of like a setup to where you have a big screen and you're able to like play videos and whatnot, then shoot a video in the back, a promo in the back, and then play it for the audience, on the big screen inside the arena there. You know what I'm saying? Something a little bit different,
Yeah.
but no more than 2 hours. You want to have a good maybe two, maybe three promos, but I think three would be overkill, 100% overkill. And you want to have a show that's, you know, conservatively book at maybe five to six matches. You know what I mean? Maybe hit them with a match or two, then a promo, then another match or two, then another promo, and then
Mhm.
start to build up for your main event. You know what I mean? Maybe have your main event guys do a promo right before the match, before the main event happens, and then
Yeah.
you have semi-main and then the main event. You know what I mean? And then
Right.
leave them wanting more to come back to the show.
As as your time of wrestling, what was I'm just curious, what was the your favorite part of the show? What was it? Let me ask this again. What was the match that you want to be booked in the most? Did you like the opener better, or did you like the main event better? What fit better for you?
So when I first broke into the business, I was what we call a curtain jerker, right? Which is the first match on the card. And again, that goes back to what I was saying. If you've got a roster full of different guys and you want to have your greener guys go out first and get the butterflies out of the way, you know what I mean? You don't want to have green guys go out before the main event and just kill the
Yeah.
whole show, right? So when I started out, I was a curtain jerker. Then I worked my way into the mid card, and then I eventually worked my way into the main event scene. Title matches, the whole 9 yards. As I progressed in my career, I'm not a very patient guy at all by nature.
Mm,
And when I got more successful in wrestling and I was now at that main event status, I sometimes hated it because it's like I got to sit through all these other matches for the next 2 hours just to get my match over with. You know what I mean?
right.
And I was anxious to get through that curtain, not because I wanted to hurry and get it over with, but because I just had all that built up emotion, all that built up, I'm ready to go. So there
Yeah.
were some nights where I didn't mind being the opener, especially later on in my career. I didn't mind being an opener. I didn't mind being, a mid carder, and I didn't mind the main event. But it like overall, if I wasn't a champion or if I didn't have some sort of a main event status going on in the show,
Right.
give me the first or second match, please, so I could just get it out of
Really?
the way. You know what I mean?
Okay. Okay.
And again, it goes, you have to be confident in yourself. You have to be confident in what you can provide to the audience to say, go ahead, make me the first match of the night, and I'll
Yeah.
set them off with the barn burner. Not to take away from the main event. You don't want to do that.
Yeah.
But I'll give them a good 10, 8 to 10 minute match. Or if you want to go a little longer to 11, 12, I can give you that.
Yeah.
Um, especially later on in my career. But there was some nights, man, where I was just like, I'm just ready to go. Let's knock it out.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I'm ready.
Right. Yep. 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 Understandable. Let's talk about venue wise, because you've worked in a lot of different spots and been to a lot of different places. Venue wise, what is some good style of venues that comes to mind? Like when you think about I want to work there because of that place, like why would you choose that place?
You get a lot of people make fun of some of the smaller promotions when they work like the bingo halls or a YMCA or whatnot. Those shows are a lot of fun, dude, because more often than not, the floor is wood
Hmm.
and wood has a better sound to it than concrete does. You know
Okay.
what I mean? So when you have a loud crowd, or if you're fighting on the outside and you drop a guy on the outside of the ring and he hits that wood, it's got a
Yeah.
different acoustic. You know what I mean? That goes through the arena. The arena, the
Hmm.
venue.
Yeah.
Um, but then there's something else too of walking out of the curtain and you're walking out on stage and you're looking out into like a whole arena and you're just seeing like the place just full, of people
Right.
inside this big ass arena. So I mean, that's cool too. There's
Yeah.
different aspects to it. For me personally, I had enough of working in the smaller venues. You know what I mean? I had enough of working in the YMCA's. Um, bingo halls. I even worked at a swap meet one time. You know what I mean? I worked outdoors, at
Yeah.
some like backyard, I don't know, blowout or whatever it was. But
Yeah.
I've also worked in big arenas. I've worked in bars. I've worked everywhere. And I guess it's just your own personal style of what you want. But there's nothing like coming out of that curtain, man.
Yeah.
And you're looking down that ramp that leads to that ring, and there's just a sea of people out in that place. It's just something
Right.
special.
Is there a specific venue that comes to mind that's your favorite that you worked in?
That I worked in personally. There's probably two of them, well, three of them for three different reasons. My ultimate favorite was working the Extreme Thing Music Festival in Las Vegas because there was just so many damn people. You know what I mean? That's like the largest crowd I've ever worked in front of. I think the estimate was like 20, 30 some odd thousand people. You know, we would perform in between the bands going on stage. And I
Yeah.
remember the last Extreme Thing that I worked, I was a main event before the last band was to take the stage. I think the last band was either Kill Switch and Engage or Avenged Sevenfold or somebody like that. So we had like an X amount of time to get our shit in and get the match over with before the band
Yeah.
started, right? And I remember when I came out and I got in that ring and I looked around and all I saw was just a sea of fucking people, dude. You know what I mean? Like as far as the eye could see, and we're outdoors. It's dusk. The lights are starting to come on, and I'm just like trying to peer over the top rope, you know, on the turnbuckle, looking over. Man, there's just a sea of people. So that was
Yeah.
cool personally for me. It was so many people.
Oh yeah.
Second of all, would be the first arena show I ever worked was the Silver Nugget here in Las Vegas. Again, I walked out. You know, when I first got to the venue, I looked at all the empty chairs. I'm like, man, this place is, you know, it could be packed tonight. You know, what if? You know, what if?
Yeah.
I'm back in the curtain. I'm changing. I'm going over my stuff, and when my music hits, I walk out the curtain. That was the first time at that show that I didn't look out, you know, to the crowd before my match hit. I saw
Yeah.
what the arena looked like empty hours before the show started, but I didn't look out what the sea of people looked like when the show started, right? Until I
Yeah.
walked out of the curtain. And when I walked out and I saw that sea of people, I was like, holy shit, this is fucking awesome. You got that spotlight on you as you're walking to the ring. You know what I mean? You got all these people looking at you. That was something special.
Yeah.
And then third, the last one is working at Toby Keith's Bar and Grill in Phoenix was something special because it was Toby Keith's Bar. There was a bunch of rowdy drunk dudes in that bar yelling and screaming at you. Pantera at the time was my theme song. I'm flipping these people off, you know, telling them where to go and all this and that. And then when my music stops, I hear this one guy going, I love your music, but you're still an asshole. You know,
Yeah.
it's like, it was a bar crowd and I loved it, dude.
Yeah, man. um Talk about like advertisement, right? Because you have to advertise a show or else no one's gonna come. In your career, what were some good advertisements that you've seen or even helped out with, and what was some bad advertisements?
So yeah, that's the hard one, right? Especially when you're a brand new, you know, just like this show.
Yeah.
The show is, you know, we're getting it off the ground, we're trying to get it going. It's hard to get, you know, word of mouth out there, right?
Right.
So some of the advertisements that I saw that did work is, you know, nothing beats a good old fashioned street team. Going
Mm.
out and putting flyers and posters on telephone poles, on mailboxes, wherever you can put a flyer, go put a flyer. Go into your grocery store and go to that, you know, flyer board on the wall and throw your you know, flyer for your show on there. Nothing beats a good street team. Nowadays with social media, it's almost like you have to pay these social media companies anymore to get any sort of engagement. But if you have a following already, if you have an engagement that you can post to, social media is key. Never, you know, degrade your audience, especially professional wrestling, because it's already taboo as it is. So you don't want to make them feel stupid. You don't want to make them feel less than. You know what I mean? Especially coming to your show because you want to be as successful as possible, right? You want
Right.
your guys and girls in the behind the curtain when they come out, they want to see a bunch of people and not just work in front of an empty crowd. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So advertisement is big, man, but it's just knowing your demographic, knowing the audience that you want to hit. You know, you're not necessarily going to go to, you know, some nightclub. You know, let's say here on the Las Vegas Strip, you're not going to go to a nightclub and promote your wrestling show to them, right?
Yeah.
No, you're going to go when like AEW or WWE's in town. You're going to go flyer that major show. You know what I mean? Put it on their car windows or whatever. You know what I mean? You're going to go to your local comic book store, music store, if those still exist. You know, you want to go to those places and hit up those people because, you know, more often than not, you'll find your wrestling audience in places like that.
That makes sense. That makes sense. Um, back in the day, what worked for the promotions that you worked for?
As far as advertising goes,
Yeah.
Um, it was the street team. It was us getting out there and putting in the legwork and making sure that, you know, each one of us had 100 flyers, and you got an X amount of time to go out and flyer your community. And if you come back the next day and you've got, you know, a handful of flyers left, then what the hell were you doing? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And there's
Yeah.
always accountability. You know, I gave you 100 flyers, and you come back and you've got 72 flyers in your hand. well, what the hell were you doing with your time? You know what I mean?
Right.
It's not just getting to the show, doing your show, and leaving. It's you got to help promote the show too, especially when you're an independent, smaller independent
Yeah.
company. You know what I mean? You
Right.
need to put in the legwork. Everybody needs to do their collective jobs and get out there and hammer the streets, man. Hammer the
That makes
streets.
sense. How did other promoters reach out to you? Was it by just a phone call? Was it by friends? How did they reach out to you, and how did you find out who to work for?
So when I first broke into the business in Arizona, I moved out of there and I moved up here to Vegas. And I knew of a couple indie promotions that were working up here, but I didn't know any of the guys personally. I never worked with the guys before in the business, so I made a couple phone calls to some guys back in Arizona that I worked with, and they put me in touch with guys that were up here working, and they put in a good word for me to these guys up here. So when I called or showed up, they knew who I was. They knew I had credibility, and you know, next thing you know, you're working the shows. But a lot of it's word of mouth nowadays with social media. Anybody can see your clip that you posted on YouTube, on X, wherever, right?
Yeah.
So you always want to have a good up to date email, a good phone number that's up to date. Make yourself presentable in a business form, and
Mhm.
not just like, hey, here's my Facebook account, go like it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, you need to have all your credentials there. How long you've been in the business for, the promotions that you've worked for. Have you been a champion? Have you been a trainer? Who were you trained by? You know what I
Yeah.
mean? um it's almost like a media kit that you would make to send into like WWE at the time, WWF. You would have, you know, maybe 2, 3 matches, a couple of 8x10 shots, and a video of you of doing like a promo, right?
Yeah.
And you put it all together in a media kit and send it off to Stanford, and have WWE guys look at you and say, okay, maybe we'll bring this guy in for a tryout, right?
Yeah.
Maybe even AEW. But nowadays, man, things have changed so much that it's not so much of doing that anymore. It's just making sure that you got a good, strong presence on social media anymore, which
Right.
I think sucks. I think it takes away from the hard work and aspiration that a lot of us guys had to do to like break that ceiling.
Mhm.
Whereas now it's a lot easier for, Johnny come lately over here to get noticed because he did one flip off the top rope, and ooh, we got to book this kid. You know what I mean? But
Yeah.
can
Right.
this kid work an actual match, for 10, 12
Yeah.
minutes, So
Right.
in some aspects it's easier, and I get it, and I'm happy for some of them, but then again, I'm not, because it's like you're not paying your dues so much anymore to break it, to make it through. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. Right. Right. That makes sense. It's kind of like a little bit of everything, like music wise too. It's the same way. You got to have a sort of presence online to even play anywhere, right?
Oh yeah.
Yep.
It's
Makes
anything with
sense.
entertainment anymore, it seems like. You know what I mean? You can have, how many times have we seen a band, right, that lost a singer, lost a drummer, lost a guitarist, and they happen to see this one kid who's got 30,000 views on TikTok, you know what I mean, over here doing a solo, and now all of a
Yep.
sudden this band, brings him in. And
Yep.
if there wasn't a TikTok, if there wasn't an X, this kid would have never been, seen before. You
Right.
know, you got all these talent shows, America's Got Talent, X Voice, or whatever the hell the shit's called. So in some ways it's a lot easier, but then it's harder because now you have that many more people out there trying to do the same shit you're doing to get
Mm.
themselves noticed. So what are you doing that's different from the rest of them? So there
Yeah.
is still that hardship of making it through, but it's definitely a
Right.
lot more easier now than it was back in when I was coming up.
When you were coming up, how hard was it to get booked?
Oh my God. It was insanely hard for a couple of different reasons. The main reason why is because nobody knew who you were,
Yeah.
especially when you're breaking into the business. If you didn't have, let's say that you went to a good school, right? A good, credible school, and you were trained the right way, and you had your trainer put in a good word for you, or, a lot of the times the trainers would know other promotions and other promoters.
Yeah.
So when you get graduated from that school, they're like, okay, I'm going to make a phone call to, let's say, Johnny Z over here on the west side of town. He's got a decent promotion, or over here in a different city. Let me make a phone call for you. And I'll get you booked on the first, match of the card.
Yeah.
So you have that aspect of it. But when I was coming up, man, it was extremely hard, dude, because there was a lot of guys. Remember, we were coming off the Attitude Era in wrestling, right? There was no more WCW. There was no more ECW. There was literally one company before Ring of Honor and TNA came up. There was one company
Yeah.
to work for, really. All the other smaller promotions, man, you had a lot of those ex WWF, WCW guys who weren't, part of the invasion angle to go to WWF. Those
Right.
guys were starting to take some of the smaller independent bookings. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it's extremely hard to get booked, man. Even nowadays, it's hard to get booked because a lot of and I'm not trying to knock anybody, I'm not trying to put anybody down or anything like that, but a lot of the wrestling that you see nowadays wouldn't pass when I was coming up, dude. You know,
Yeah.
a lot of these guys work half-assed, and again, it's not trying to put anybody down. It's just the way they're brought up. It's the way they're
Right.
trained in today's wrestling. You know,
Yeah.
I've been in the ring with some guys that if they were coming up when I was coming up, man, they wouldn't last. They would take that one stiff shot and never come back. You
Really?
know, yeah, absolutely. Now it's
Hmm.
like, we'll just take anybody who comes through the door, which is
Damn.
not right. You know,
No,
it's
it's
not.
not. That's unfortunate. It's kind of like a disrespect on the business. It's like no one's taking it seriously. So why should anyone else?
Man, I can't tell you how many times when I was a trainer, lead trainer of every promotion that I worked for, pretty much, and here in Vegas. And I would have guys come in that were maybe training for, a couple weeks, couple months, just starting to get their feet wet on how to put a match together. Maybe not quite have had a match on a show yet, but they've done some matches in training and they're almost
Mhm.
there. They're almost ready, right?
Yeah.
And I got guys coming to me, hey, how do you do a pile driver? How do you take a DDT? Well, I don't know who these kids are, right? So I'm looking at these kids. I'm like, do you know how to do a lockup? Well, yeah, of course we know how to do a lockup. Can you show me how to do a lockup? And they would do a half-ass lockup that looked like shit. And I
Right.
would tell them, until you straighten that shit out, man, until you make that shit look like you're locking up for real, like you want
Yeah.
to take this dude's head off, don't
Right.
come to me and talk to me about a DDT or a pile driver because you're barking up the wrong tree with that one, dude.
Right. Yep. It's so
And there's a lot of
stupid.
them out there like that. All they
Why?
know is high spots. They don't know how to actual wrestle, how to engage the audience. Nobody understand. Well, I can't say nobody. A lot of the kids coming out nowadays don't understand that. They just want to do move after move after
Hmm.
move after move, get their shit in, and oh, ooh, ah. But at the end of the day, what does that get you?
Right. Right.
People remember Hulk
Uh,
Hogan for a reason.
I want to circle back on that. Don't let me forget about that part. I want to touch on this before we get too far out. I want to touch on the production of a show real quick. I want to talk about the stage. Is that important? Like, how important is it to have a good like curtain to walk out of? Like how important is that?
Very important. And I'll tell you why that is. You can go to any hole in the wall independent pro wrestling show and see the
Hmm.
same shit. They
Right.
got a black big ass curtain along the wall. They got a fucking door that leads to like the back fucking locker room, right? If they're at a
Yeah.
YMCA, and they come through that and they got like some makeshift logo of the promotions, letters up on top of the door, right?
Yeah.
So I'm not saying that you need $1,000 budget, a $10,000 budget, a good enough wherewithal to maybe put some things together yourself where you got a couple pieces of staging, some different lights going on. So if you can have lights above the ring that are decent enough, you know what I mean? But production is very, very important because even though you might be a small independent promotion, you want to stand out. You know what I mean? You want to make people feel like this is legit. They care about what they're doing. You know what I mean? And
Yeah.
that, okay, we can come back to this show because they put this much effort into their production, this much
Right.
effort into what we're, the whole presentation of it all. So it makes you not only stand out, but it makes the people take you more seriously because you put that time and effort into your production for sure.
Right. Yeah. 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 I mean, I don't want to go to a show where it's just a black fucking curtain.
And I've worked at
Like,
those shows.
yeah, I'm like, this is boring. This is like someone's backyard. It feels like this is not even legit. Like, are these people actually, do they actually know like how to fucking wrestle? Or
Yep.
like, are we watching someone's cousin deciding they want to fucking roll around in a ring? It's like,
Right.
where am I? So I thought that was just curious to know, like, how important was that? Because for me, right, like I said, I don't want to go somewhere where it looks fucking stupid. I want to go somewhere where it's like, okay, they actually put some effort into this.
It looks like it's an actual professional wrestling show. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's professional looking.
Right.
I don't know if you can anymore, but I know that when I was coming up, you can go to highspots.com and you can
Hmm.
buy yourself a fucking ring. Now the rings weren't cheap. They were like 10
Right.
grand or some shit, 15 grand back then. But
Yeah.
anybody with that money could buy a ring, put it in their
Hmm.
backyard, and now they're an independent backyard promotion. You know what I mean?
Exactly. Yep.
So it's like you want to stand out from the rest of them. You know what I mean? You want to have people take notice of you because you take
Hmm.
the effort to make it that much more presentable and make
Yeah.
it look professional so people take you
Right.
seriously.
And I guess that also plays the part of booking a venue that looks great too, right?
Yep. Now, I will tell you, it's hard to book a venue because they want insurance. They want
Mm,
to make sure you're licensed. You know, they want to make sure this, want to make sure that. So booking a venue is a lot harder than it might seem. You could be a garage rock band and like go down to like the local Chuck E. Cheese and be like, hey, can we plug in our amps on a Thursday night and just jam out for a half hour? You know what I mean?
right.
When it comes to wrestling, it's a lot harder because it already has that stigma of wrestling, and people think wrestling, they think blood, they think thumbtacks, you know what I mean, and all that bullshit. So
Yeah,
there's a lot of waters that you got to navigate. You know what I mean? You got to play it smart, play it smooth when you're booking a venue, and it's a lot harder than people think it is.
that makes sense. That makes sense. You touched on like live streaming, right? Cameras. How many cameras is suitable for a show? Do you think there should be a ground cameraman and then like a hard camera? How many is the perfect number?
I would say if you're taking it seriously and if you've got the budget, again, the budget is a key part, right? But anybody can get a good, decent enough iPhone with a good camera on it nowadays, right? Back when when I was coming up, you
Yeah,
had those long lens cameras, right? That you would have to
yeah,
fucking, have on a tripod and shit. Um, you need definitely one hard camera that sets off, behind the crowd, that's like overlooking the ring and overlooking the stage. You know what I mean? You need that hard camera that's able to follow in and zoom, right?
yeah,
You need at least two ground cameras, one on each side of the ring, left and right side of the ring, and then possibly, if you can, one more in the back. If you are happening to do like live to tape promos where you're going to show them on a screen, to the
yeah.
outside. So at least 3 to 4 inside, and possibly one or two in the backstage area for sure.
That makes sense. Um, I want to talk about music, because now we have Spotify, we have streaming services that would make it easier for a wrestler to just tell the booker, "I want this song." It's on Spotify, right? Back in the day, you didn't have Spotify, so how would you bring your theme song to a different company?
So there's one of two ways that you could do it. One is you could bring a CD, a burnt CD that you burnt on a computer back when they had DVD burners and CD burners, right? You would download your music, your song, burn it onto a CD, take that with you down to the promotion, find whoever the sound guy is, and if you could burn it onto a disc himself with everybody else's music on it, great. If you couldn't do that, then you would hand it to him, and be like, hey, you make sure you put your name on the top of that CD, who you are, what match number you are, so he knew that when it was time for you to come out, he could plug that son bitch in and your music could
Okay.
start.
Yeah.
But I will say this now, in today's day and age, if you're live streaming on Rumble, X, YouTube, right, whatever it is, even if you're not live streaming, but you're gonna air it after it's over,
Yeah.
you can't have licensed music anymore being played.
Oh,
So
yeah.
there's your problem. What do you do for theme music? You know what I mean? Like
Right.
there's another issue. So there's a lot of different stuff, man, that you were able to get away with back in the day, such as music. ECW was notorious for that. They ripped fucking everybody off, right?
Oh, yeah, for sure.
And nobody gave a shit because they didn't think nobody was watching ECW. But
Yeah.
apparently, a lot of fucking people were. But
Right.
times were different back then, right? Nowadays, you can't get away with that shit. So if you're in a
Yeah.
small independent promotion and you've got, Rob Zombie music playing, for your theme music, you're gonna get fucking DMAC for that.
Right. Yeah, that makes sense. I didn't even think about that. It's unfortunate that all the fun is seems like it's being stripped away, all the fun parts of it. The fucking
Yeah.
music, the talent in the ring, like you were saying, it's just fucking these kids doing flips now. It's like all the fun aspects of wrestling seems like it's just getting fucking pulled out.
Yeah, man, it really is. I could tell you that it was so much fun to be in the ring with somebody who got the business as well as you did, and you did your first lockup, first headlock takeover, and as you're rolling around the mat, guess what you're saying to your opponent? Hey, brother, you want to get a drink after the match? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You want to go hit the local bar? Ah, I'm gonna kill you. You know what I
Mhm.
mean? Like
Right.
you were having a conversation in the ring with your opponent. The audience never knew what the fuck was going on.
Yeah.
Nowadays, these kids are in the backstage planning out every fucking move, every single piece of their match, like point by point by point by point. And it's like, holy fuck. If you
Yeah.
remember half of that,
Right.
great, dude. I'm so happy for you, but that's not what fucking wrestling is. It's filling that audience, it's filling that engagement of the crowd. If you have them, you have them. If you lost them, you get them back. If you already have something in mind of what you're going to do and how you're going to like portrayed out in the ring, then it doesn't matter if the crowd's shitting all over, because guess what? You already have it fucking mapped out in your head. So what are you going to do? You can't call an audible because you already have it all scripted out. You know what I mean? It's like think of things, man. Be creative. Don't just like, I want to do this, and then memorize it all and go out there like you're a fucking robot.
Yeah. No, no. Like I can't even fucking remember what I had for dinner yesterday. You want me to remember an entire fucking match? No, dude.
Dude, it'll
Can
never. I'll never forget. I worked a big ass foodie event. Dude, there's thousands of people out there, and I'm wrestling this guy that I've wrestled many times before. And I asked him, I was like, "So what do you want to do tonight?" Man, it's like he opened up the fucking entire encyclopedia, right? It's like a book this fucking thick, right? And I'm like, okay, what you just said to me right there, cut that in half. Then take that half, cut that motherfucker in half, and then once you cut that motherfucker in half, cut it again and come talk to me.
Yep.
It's like, come on, man.
um so let's just go through different parts of the show, right? What goes on before a show? Like who sets things up? What's the vibe like that backstage? How early do you show up? Like what goes on?
So let's say that your bell time is 5 o'clock, right? Doors open at 4. You want your talent there no later than 11, right? 10 o'clock, 11 a.m. The guys who put up the ring and put up the stage a lot of times are the referees. Some of the younger guys that are breaking into the business, you know what I mean? Paying your dues, right?
Mhm.
You wouldn't so much see a bunch of the main event guys out there putting up the ring, putting up the staging because they paid their dues. They've done it. You know what I mean? Now they're in the main event scene for a reason. So you really wouldn't have them out there doing that. If they wanted to, that was on them, but it wasn't expected, right? So you would have your ring truck show up, the truck with the trailer that has a ring attached to it. You unload everything, go to the middle of the floor, start setting up your padding where you're going to put your big ass post, for your ring. Set up your ring. Once you get the ring set up, put on the skirting, put up your stage if you have a stage, and then you start building your set, you know what I mean, of where you come out from. Set up your lighting rig, make sure your cameras are in place. It's a lot of shit that goes into putting up for a 2-hour show. Let me tell you, it's a lot of shit.
Yeah, fuck, it sounds like a lot. Fuck. Is there like a briefing or anything before it starts?
Not necessarily. You would have, let's say I'm the promoter of my promotion, right? What I'm going to do is I'm going to have that one guy who's in charge of coordinating everybody putting up the ring. I have one guy who's coordinating putting up the staging. Then my job backstage is, okay, who showed up? Who do I have on my roster that's here tonight, right? If I already didn't have my show planned out beforehand, it's my first or second show, right? I need to know who all I have, who's here, who I can book, who I can use, right? And then from there, I'm looking at, okay, what's my main event? Do a main event first, and then you work backwards, right?
Okay.
You want to start off with your last match first, and then you work backwards, because the reason why you want to do that is if you start out with the first and then work your way up, something always is going to go wrong. Always going to go
Mm,
wrong. You're going to forget something. You're going to forget that this should go here, this should go there. So you always start from the top. Just like if you listen to Vince McMahon and Triple H talk, Pat Patterson too, about the yearly calendar for WWE. They would always start from WrestleMania of next year and then book backwards. It's the
mm,
same shit when you're putting together a card. You want to start at the top first and then trickle it down. So that way it's a ladder effect. You know what I mean?
okay.
You already know what you have at the top. Now let's work our way up there to get to it.
Got it. Got it. That's interesting. I never would have thought work fucking backwards like that.
Mhm. A lot
Hmm.
of wrestling is backwards if you think about it. It's backwards thinking of like you're gonna take a bump on this fucking hard ass ring. Don't think about it. Just hit that motherfucking ring as hard as you can. Like that's
Yeah.
backwards thinking.
Right. um, let's talk about during the show. What are the bookers doing backstage? Is everyone in the back watching the back? Everything. Like, what's going on?
So realistically, you want your talent watching what's going on in the ring of matches before you. Why? Because you don't want to repeat what the fuck they're doing.
Mm,
If you've got a high spot where dude's coming off the rope and dudes catch him in a big ass power slam into a false finish 1-2 kick out, and then your match, you were going to have that in your match. Well, now you got to take that out and put something else in because now they just did that, right?
yeah.
I can't tell you how many times I've been to shows where these guys are doing the same shit one after another because nobody's watching. Nobody's watching the matches because they're too busy in the back planning out their own fucking map.
Right.
Match. They have like a 20-page book on a fucking 10-minute match, dude. It's like, it's ridiculous. You know what I mean?
Mm,
So realistically, you want your talent watching the matches behind the curtain so you're not repeating what the other guys are doing. The guy who's in charge, the booker, if you got a good enough production team, you got a headset on, you got, some sort of a monitor that you're watching it on. If you don't have anything like that, you're behind a curtain somewhere, preferably away from the talent, so that way you're not, caught up in all the mess that's going on backstage, and you're watching everything, how it's going. How are the matches going? How is the crowd's reception to what's going on? That way you know who you should book future,
Hmm.
who you probably don't want to bring back because they didn't engage the audience that much, you know what I mean? And just
Yeah.
how the progression of your show is going, so that way you can learn from the show, so you know what to do and what not to do for your next show.
Yeah. Yeah, that makes sense. Um, does that always happen, or do you guys
No.
like go fucking take a walk down the street and get a fucking Mickey bomber? Like what
Yeah.
happens when they
Oh
like
yeah, it's
leave?
it's
Yeah.
it's a fucking it's a goddamn hodgepodge, dude. Let me tell you,
Oh
you got
man.
guys who take it seriously where they're in the corner fucking stretching. You got another dude in the corner fucking smoking a joint. You got another dude that's outside trying to fucking get some ring rat's fucking phone number. You know what I mean? Like, it's all over the fucking place, dude. And
Fuck.
I've been backstage where the fucking booker, the guy in charge, has like no idea what the fuck he's doing, dude. Like, he's
Hmm.
going from here, he's going over there. It's like there's no structure. You know what I mean? It's just fucking
Yeah.
chaos. And that's
What
when
the
your show
fuck?
goes off the rails. And I have been a part of my fair share of shows
Yeah.
that have gone off the rails that I was the main event of, that I didn't want to be the main event anymore because this show sucks.
Right, right. Hold that thought. Before we get there, let's talk about after the show. Who tears it down? Who fucking cleans it up? Is there is that when fucking payouts happen? Like what happens after the show?
That's a really good question. So, if you're lucky enough to get a payout after an independent show, and when I say lucky, I do mean lucky. Um, Normally, it's out of town talent that get paid, whether that's transportation to the show the booker will pay for, or you book your own transportation, and then once you get done with your match, the booker will pay you out XYZ, right? It's always one or the other. Unless you're a top talent, you've been on TV, you've been somewhere, you've done something, then that's where the promoter will take care of everything for you and give you a payout. But um, after the show is over, the guys who tear down the ring are the same guys who set it up. The green guys, the referees, all of them will start tearing everything down. The booker will be in the back. If everything, let's just make it simple. Everything was a cash transaction, right? Nowadays, everything is credit card. But cash transaction, at the end of the night, the booker's going to have all that money that was made for that night, whether it was ticket sales, concessions, whatever. He's going to have the stack of money, right? Then he's going to look at his card. He's going to pay the talent in the main event first. They're going to get X, right? Right off the bat, no matter who they are, they're going to get X. Let's say you fucking are paying out your top talent, let's say maybe $200, right? Yeah, folks, it's that small sometimes. Let's say you get $200, right, for a main event talent. That opening match, they might not get paid at all. You know what I mean? They're breaking into the business. They're learning how to wrestle. They're learning how to work in front of a crowd. You might give them $5. You might give them $10. Hell, you might not give them anything at all but a handshake. Thanks for, putting in the time today, kid. I'll see you down the road. You know what I mean? And I've been in those situations too. You know what I mean? So that's when your payouts would happen. And when it's all said and done, the ring's packed up, staging is torn down, everything's ready to rock and roll, talent is left. And that's when you turn the fucking lights off, man. You look back, you're like, okay, was this a success? And how you gauge a success was, how was that crowd leaving that show? Were they
Yeah.
happy? Were they enthusiastic? Were they willing to come back again to see your next show? Or did they all just walk out kind of like, yeah, that was cool? Or, were they quiet when they walked out? That's the last
Right.
thing you want. You want that crowd like, fuck yeah, man.
Oh
Did you see what
yeah.
happened last night, dude? Let's go. We got to come back and go to the next show. That's
Hell
what you
yeah.
want.
Right. Yeah, fuck yeah.
It's like leaving a fucking metal show, dude. You don't want to be like, yeah, that's pretty
Yeah.
good. You know what I mean?
Right.
No,
Yeah.
you want to walk out the fucking slaughter. You know what I
I
mean? Like, you want to
know.
be fucking happy,
Yeah. Yeah. It fucking makes sense. I want to fucking come out fucking bored.
Yeah,
Um,
exactly. It's entertainment.
it's supposed to be, right?
Right.
Fuck. Um, so before we continue with the last couple questions I have for you, let's go back what we were talking about with the guys that couldn't fucking wrestle and they're on fucking the card, right? How pissed off would you be if you busted your ass and you train fucking for months, for years, and you know the in and outs, every hold for hold, you know how to tell a fucking story in the ring, but your opening match and the guy that only knows how to jump out the top rope is like fucking almost main event. How pissed would you fucking be?
You're fucking furious. And that's when you go to the booker and you'd be like, dude, what the fuck was this shit? Why is fucking, Johnny come lately over here doing fucking, a double moonsault off the fucking top rope in an opening match that goes 8 minutes. Like, what the fuck are we doing? You know what I mean? You are super pissed. If you are established enough in the business to where you got enough of a name, people start to know who you are. When that talent comes through the curtain, you're going to pull them aside and be like, yo, you're not doing that shit again. And if you're a
Hmm.
smart booker, if you care about your promotion, if you care about what you're doing, you're pulling that talent aside and saying, no, I'm not booking you for the next show. You're going to sit
Yeah.
out. And why am I sitting out? Because of what you just did out there. Well, what did I do out there? Then you explain to them what the fuck they
Yeah.
did. You know what I mean? There's a punishment to it. And I've seen it firsthand to where guys are in the ring with more experienced workers and they try to get away with some, sloppy shit. And all it takes is for that one fucking hard chop, you know what I mean? To the
Yeah.
fucking small of the back. Oh, fuck, that fucking stung. Like, what the hell?
Right.
That's the guy letting you know, smarten the fuck up, kid. You know what I
Hmm.
mean? Like, listen up because it's about to get fucking real.
Right. Right. It sounds like there's a lot of politics.
Oh my god, dude. All wrestling is politics. That's why I got out of it. All wrestling is anymore is fucking politics, prima donnas, and fucking little sissy ass fucking whiny bitches that want to sit around and fucking whine and moan and grope. Oh, you're stiffing me too hard. Oh, you pushed me off the rope too hard.
Mm.
It's a fucking. And I'm not saying it's every guy or girl out there that's wrestling right now is like that, but a majority of it is, and
Yeah.
definitely in the smaller independent promotions, there's a lot of fucking politicking, dude. It's disgusting.
How does that come across to someone that's brand new when they break through? It's like, let's say I'm brand new and I go backstage for the first time, and there's all these cliques backstage, and there's these people that think they're better, but they're not. Like, what would I be expecting when I walk backstage?
So idealistically, you want to come through the backstage and you want to let everybody know who you are. Not in an asshole way, but by a respectful manner of you're coming through, you're shaking everybody's hand, you're introducing yourself to everybody. And by everybody, I mean fucking everybody, right? If their door is closed, leave it closed. If it's open, hey, knock, knock. Hey, I'm so and so. Make yourself known. Make yourself, on a respectful basis that, hey, I'm here and I'm happy to be here, right? If you're walking into our locker room for the first time and you're seeing guys clicked up and guys like this, it's going to happen anywhere you are in any aspect of entertainment. Hell, it even happens in high school. You know what I mean? You have
Hmm.
your own cliques and shit. If
Right.
you're a new kid on campus, you're fucked. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Until you find that crew to click in with. Same shit in wrestling. You know what I mean? It's the same people that hook up with the same people. But if I could give any solid advice to any youngster out there trying to make it in the smaller independent promotions is be humble, be smart, and be respectful.
Mm.
Introduce yourself to everybody, be as polite as possible, but don't get too polite to where you get walked over. I'm not saying that whatsoever, but be enough to where they could take you seriously and you could take them seriously, and now you got that working relationship that you can build off of. You know what I'm saying? You
Yeah.
don't want to be a pushover, and you don't want to be a fucking asshole. Trust me.
Yeah. Yeah. Um, do you think the business now is more intimidating or less intimidating?
Less, way less intimidating. a
Yeah.
100% less. When I was coming in, man, I'm like, I wasn't even 6 foot. I'm like, what, 5'9", 5'10" at my best. You know what I mean? 5'8". And I would walk into the locker room. I'm seeing guys that were 6'2", 280 pounds, 280 pounds. You know what I mean? And I'm like, fuck. But like nowadays, you're walking into locker rooms and these guys are all average size. Don't hit the gym. Don't tan. Don't do shit. They don't care.
No.
You got these guys that thinking that because they worked in front of 100 people that they made the big time, and
Yeah.
that might be the biggest crowd they ever work in front of. And if if it works for them, it works for them. But 9 times out of 10, man, nobody takes it as seriously as they should, especially if they want to make it to the big time. Because if you want to make it to the big time, looking the way you do like an average Joe ain't
Yeah.
gonna cut it, dude. There's a
Yeah.
reason why guys like Ric Flair, Hulk Hogan, Jimmy Valentine, all these guys that came up before you, all had a different look, the different character, the different charisma. Fucking Macho Man, for fuck's sake. You know what I mean? They all had something to them, a pizzazz to them that
Yeah.
drew people to them, right? If you look like anybody else that's coming off the street to come watch the show, no one's going to pay to see that because they can see it right next to them. The person who paid for a ticket. Same
Right.
shit.
Yeah. Yep. That makes fucking sense. That's a shame, man. It's like you can't even enjoy things because there's so much fucking politics into it. There's so much outside influence that is just fucking like a negative, you know?
Yeah, Yeah, it really is, and it's gotten out of hand, to the point of where you everything nowadays is an instant gratification culture, right? We want everything now, 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 now. I want my
Yep.
Amazon order instantly here as soon as I order. You know what I mean?
Yep.
Nobody wants to work for anything anymore. So
Right.
people, these youngsters nowadays, man, feel like they should, as soon as they get out of wrestling school, they've been 3 months in a wrestling school. Now they think they know everything there is about fucking wrestling, and they
Yeah.
go in that ring and do a fucking 10-minute flop fest. You know what I mean?
Yep.
That's not what wrestling is, dude. And that's what's changed about it over the years, um, is that instant gratification to where nobody wants to work for anything anymore. Nobody wants to put in their time anymore. They just want everything handed to them now, 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 and it's fucking killed the business, dude.
Do you think pro wrestling is an independent sport, or do you think it needs to be a team sport? Like, do you think you need to rely on others to help you, or is it solely just on you?
I would say at one time it was on you to an extent, but it is definitely a team sport because you have that one person in charge, right? That's overseeing everything, the booker, right? He's overseeing everything, but you need everybody else to fall in line to do their part.
Hmm.
Whether it's the ticket taker, whether it's the lighting guy, whether it's the hard cam guy, whether it's the guy or girl in the back that's getting the talent ready to come out for their next match. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
everybody has their part. Everybody has what they need to do successfully to make sure that the wheels are moving. You know what I mean?
Right.
It's almost like a band. You can't have a good guitarist and a good bassist, but the drummer's off step. You know what I mean? Then
Yep.
everything goes to hell. You need
Yeah.
everybody in place doing their own thing. So it's definitely a team sport.
Yeah, I think that's why I'm not in a band, because I am very particular in the way I play and the way I like things to sound. And I know myself, and I wouldn't be a good sport if, little fucking Johnny is fucking up on the fucking drums, like I
Yeah.
need everyone to like play their fucking part. And in wrestling, I can see that too. Like if one person is not doing what they're supposed to be doing, it could ruin the entire fucking show.
Well, let me tell you this too, and this is another good advice for all the youngsters out there coming up in the wrestling business. Um, you need to be humble, but you also need to be able to take criticism. Criticism is a big fucking deal, and I don't mean taking advice from some asshole who's in the corner, fucking beer gut, fucking wife beater. You know what I mean? Looks like Johnny Come Lately out in the audience. No, somebody who's been where you're at and has now progressed and is progressing even more and is working him or herself up to a main event status or working bigger shows or maybe getting called up to bigger indie promotions. Take advice, good advice, take criticism, use that criticism not as a negative towards you, but build it to make yourself better, because there's a reason why. Let me tell you this, especially if you have a veteran, somebody who's been on TV, somebody who's been in a company that's done shit. If they take their time, their own time, to come up to you and say, hey man, can I pull you aside? Or if you approach them and say, hey, by chance, sir, ma'am, did you watch my match? And if they say, oh, as a matter of fact, I did, oh, you better take that and run with it. Can what can I work on? Don't ever ask, hey, what did you like about my match? No, no, no. Ask, what can I work on? What did I do wrong? You know what I mean?
Mhm.
Build off of those criticisms, take that critique, twist it up, and you'll be set up. You know what I'm saying? But
Yeah.
people take criticism nowadays as like, it's a bad thing, it's a negative thing, and it's
Right.
it's not. It's making
No.
yourself better.
Right, right. If someone is willing to speak to you, I mean, that is an opportunity for you to learn. You shouldn't,
Yep.
if someone's just coming up to you and saying, "Hey, man, I really think maybe on this spot you should have did that because it would have made the crowd pop more," right? You should take that, be like, "Oh fuck, you're right. That would have worked." Not like,
Yep.
whatever. Fuck, I know what the fuck I'm doing out there. Like that's
And
not
you
a
have
good
a lot of those
attitude.
kids in the business nowadays that have that same attitude right there, like, oh,
Yep.
fuck off, I did
No.
just fine. Just because they have a social media following and now they got
Right.
their fans in the crowd popping for them. Man, I was so humbled when I had guys like, and I talked about it on this podcast, Jimmy Superfly Snuka, Val Venus, Ted DiBiase, Dr. Death Steve Williams, all these guys, Terry Funk, pull me aside after a match or even after a tryout, like, that was really good, man. That was really good.
Hmm.
Thank you, sir. What can I work on?
Right.
You know what I mean? Thank
Yep.
you. I'm so grateful that you enjoyed it, but what can I work on? How can I get better?
Exactly.
That's the mentality you need to have.
Yeah, some good fucking advice, man. I got two more questions for you before we wrap this up. Let's do the worst one first. What is the worst booking you have been in?
I don't want to name names on here unless I'm getting paid to do a shoot interview, but let's just say a certain indie wrestler here in Vegas. Okay. We'll say his acronym is BBM. And
Hmm.
if he ever happens to hear this podcast, fuck you, brother. Okay. Uh, Worst fucking shit I was ever booked in was a match with him. And it went off the rails right off the bat. This kid was greener than grass. He was the only one that really had like a look to him in the back. So the bookers were trying to push him because he had a look to him. He couldn't fucking wrestle a match to save his fucking life. I tried to talk to him beforehand. Hey, let's do this, let's do that. I kept it as simple as fucking possible with him. And his thing that he came back up to me was, well, why don't we do a death match? The fuck are we gonna do a death match for, bro? Nobody knows us here, dude. We've never had a match, not one time in our career together, brother. So we made it a compromise. We'll start out as a regular match, and then we'll try to go into some sort of a schmoz, is what they would call it, where it'd be like a big fuck all. It was a fuck all from the very beginning, dude. And it turned into real stiff punches, shoot punches, by the way, between him and I, until the booker had to run out from the backstage area with other guys to break the shit up because I was gonna kill that fucking kid that night, dude.
What the fuck? What was his like reason behind everything? Was he just like wanting just to do stupid shit and didn't understand how anything fucking worked?
He got everything handed to him again because he had that look, and
Mm,
his it was either his dad or somebody that he knew had an inside for him, so he would get tryouts at some of the bigger promotions. Never got booked for anything, mind you, but he would get tryouts. But because he had
mm.
those tryouts, or because he was backstage at a couple of the shows, right? Oh, now my shit don't stink. He couldn't work a fucking match to save his life. And I'll tell you this, he worked a fucking match at the Cauliflower Alley Club, which is the Pro Wrestling Hall of Fame here in Las Vegas, right? I was on that same show. It was a 2-night wrestling event. He wrestled night one, I wrestled night two. I was in the audience and watched his match night one. He took a phantom fucking bump in the middle of the ring in front of all the legends to fucking see. Now, for the audience out there that doesn't know what a phantom bump is, it's where you take a flat back bump in the middle of the ring when nobody fucking touches you. That's what this kid did. So, you know what? Fuck you, brother.
Oh man, it sounds like a fucking shit show.
Oh, it was. Yeah,
Oh
fuck him.
man, was that later in your career?
Oh,
Was
yeah.
that
Way
yeah?
later. Way later. Yeah, that was towards the end of my career.
Damn, dude. So you had
Yep.
all this time of being a fucking wrestler just to get booked with him.
Yep. Yep, it
Mm,
was some of the worst shit. I've been in some
mm.
shit fucking shows too, let me tell you.
Yeah,
That one stands out to me the most because of who this person was, the position that he was put in, had no business being there, and he wants to come at me with some, let's do a death match, brother.
right.
Who
What the
the
fuck is
fuck are
that?
you?
No,
I've been in this territory. People know who I am. They don't know who the fuck you
right.
are. We've not even
Yeah,
had one match together. You want to do a death match? Get the fuck
right.
out of here.
Well, let's end it on a high note. What is the best booking that you've been a part of?
Oh man, that's a really good fucking question, dude. If I had to say one right now that comes off the top of my head, I am staying humble in my answer with this, and I'm gonna say it's when I worked a very small independent show in Vegas, and I'm by small I mean very small. And I wrestled a kid. If I was not his first match ever, I might have been his second or third match ever. And at this time that I wrestled him, I had probably been in the ring, God, 12 years probably, right? And he's just coming in, just breaking in, and I get to wrestle him on a show. We're mid card, and I lock up with the kid, and he wanted to. He asked me, right, what are we gonna do before the match happens? And I'm like, kid, this is what the finish is gonna be. The rest of it, just listen to me out in the ring, right? I had the owner and booker of the wrestling promotion as his manager, right? As he's breaking in, he was on the outside of the ring the entire match, right? The entire time that me and this kid are wrestling, he's out there the whole time. And I'm calling spot after spot, hold after hold, as I'm engaging with him. I'm engaging with the audience. I'm engaging with the camera. I'm engaging with everybody. But I'm talking to this kid the whole way through of every step. What's coming next? Watch out for this. Duck that. Hit me with this. Blah, 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 blah. We
Hmm.
get to the finish. 1, 2, 3. Boom. Place pops. We go in the back. He comes up and says, thank you so much. That was awesome. That was the best experience ever. I said, thank you, for listening and paying attention. Then I have the promoter come up to me and he goes, how'd you pull that off, dude? Like he's green as grass, but that came off so well. And I was like, well, I was talking to him the whole fucking time in the ring. And he was like, wait, what? And I'm like,
Yeah,
yeah, I was talking to him the whole time. He was like, I was standing out ringside the whole match. I didn't even hear you talk to him not one time. And so he went and asked the kid, he was like, was Slavin actually talking to you the whole time? And he was
yeah,
like, yeah, like the entire match. And he looked back at me and he was like, that's old school, brother. And I'm like,
yeah.
That's how I came up, dude. Call everything in the ring.
Fuck.
All you need is a finish. That's all you need
Right.
in a wrestling match is a finish. The booker will tell you what the finish is. The rest is up to you, but you got to make it make sense.
That just shows you that how important it is just to listen,
Yes.
right? And slow down. Slow
Yep.
it down. You don't need to be rushing shit. You
Yep.
I never been in the ring like that, right? But it would seem to me like when you're in that ring and the crowd is fucking yelling at you, everything feels like it's happening so quick, but it's really fucking not. And you have a lot of time to slow it down and
Yep.
just, you know, take it all in. And it sounds like he was willing to slow it down and actually fucking listen to you.
Oh, I made him slow it down. Trust me, I
Yeah,
made him slow it down. You know, if it was a
good.
rest hold or if I had him in the corner and I'm getting him a couple of high knees in the corner, you know, I'm slowing it down. But I've been a victim
Yeah.
of that myself to where I thought I was going too slow and I sped it up. And then I would go back and
Hmm.
rewatch my match and oh my God, it was like on
Quick.
fast forward. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And that's a great point that you bring up too, because when you're breaking into the business, if you think you're going too slow, slow it down a little bit more. Trust me. Then go back and watch your match if you happen to have it on tape. Go back and watch your match, and you'll see what I'm talking about. Once you slow it down, on top of what you think you're already doing, slow it down
Yeah.
some more. You'll see what I'm saying, and then after that, everything will start to make sense.
Right. That makes sense. Well, you know what? This episode's coming to an end. Just for like a recap, what are some pros and cons of pro wrestling booking, in your opinion?
Some of the pros are is very rewarding if you do it right. It's very satisfying and gratifying to see, you know, the guys and girls that are willing to come in and help you, you know, do what you want to do, and hopefully they love what they love to do as well as you do. That's some of the pros. Feeling the rush of that audience, that crowd, whether they're booing you, cheering you, or whatever. If they're leaving the venue happy, if they're all, you know, high fiving and you know we want to come back, you know, that's great. Some of the cons of being a booker, man, is you got to put up with a lot of politics. You got to put up with a lot of fucking personalities. You got to put up with a lot of people who have a lot of egos that aren't willing to, you know, go about the things maybe you want to go about to help the show out. You know,
Right.
um, a lot of people miss their bookings. A lot of people aren't willing to do what you want them to do in the show. So you got to navigate all that. There's a lot of cons to it, man. There really is. There's not a lot of money in it, especially if you're smallest of the smallest of the independents. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
There's no money to be made. You got to get into it because you love it. But let me tell you, dude, once you once you hit that one show or that
Yeah.
one moment where it hits you and it clicks and you get chills, you know you hit it.
You
You
got it.
know that you did something right. You know
Hell
what I mean?
yeah. Right. Fuck yeah, man. Well, I mean, I think this episode was a blast, man. I actually learned some things, and you know, you're my fucking brother, and I thought I knew it all, and you know, just the
Oh, there's a lot
stories
more where that came from too. Wrestling is
and
very like it's a lot, dude. It's a
yeah,
lot.
and that's kind of why I wanted to do this because you know we kind of talked on your career, you know, in our first episode here, but there's so much involved, and there's so many things that you forget until you're asked, right?
Yep.
So I feel like this, you know, if y'all want to ask Nick anything, you know, we could have another episode about a different thing, not just about fucking booking or anything like that. Like we could have this keep going because I feel like there's so much in that head of yours that like you need to fucking talk about it because you don't fucking recall it all. So you got to be
Yeah.
asked about it, right?
Yeah, 100%. I would love for this episode to blow up. If this episode blew up in some sort of way to where we can maybe do like an Ask Slave in Anything type of like episode, that'd be
Yeah.
fucking amazing. Because some of the questions that you asked me, again, just like we said at the beginning of the show, I didn't know shit that he was going to ask me, and I wanted it that way to be spontaneous.
Yeah.
Your questions were good, really good, and
Yeah,
it made
man.
me think, you know, like, oh shit, I didn't think about that in a long time, or I didn't
Right.
remember that in a long time. And that's the engagement that I like, you know what I mean? So like
Yep.
we need to keep this type of dialogue going. I really enjoyed this. I can't
Yeah.
believe an hour went by that fast.
Yeah, man, it was quick. It came up really fucking quick.
This might have
It's
been the
cool.
fastest episode we've ever done.
It could have been. It could have fucking been. But yeah, but I hope you all fucking enjoyed it. Again, go to X, go to Instagram, and follow us there at Riffs and Wrestling. Subscribe here on YouTube. Comment, please share it. Share it with your friends. Share it with your family. You know, all that good stuff. We would definitely appreciate it. Any closing remarks for you, Nick?
No, man, I just appreciate you wanting to do a fucking part two on this, man, because this is a blast.
Yep, it's been fucking fun, man, and I can guarantee you there's gonna be more coming down the line.
Hell yeah, dude. Fucking looking forward to it, man. Good questions.
Hell yeah, man. Well, without further ado, I wanna wish you all a good night and wish you a good night too, Nick. And until next time,
Sure. Peace out, guys.
peace out, guys.